is one of Splash's most versatile integrations. It is super easy to configure and a great way to keep an eye on your events. In this integration demo, we'll show you how anyone can set it up to link important events in Splash to your Slack channels to keep everyone up to date. Today, we'll be covering 3 scenarios: updates about guest RSVPs, guest check-ins, and event creations. Setting each of these up will have a few steps. First, creating a new integration. Second, connecting that integration to your Slack workspace. Third, configuring some core integration behaviors. Fourth, setting up the message you want to send. Fifth, activating your integration. And sixth, testing it to make sure it all worked the way you wanted. Integrations can be set up in 2 places, either on an event itself, limiting their effects to just that one event, or at the organizational level, where they will affect all of your events. Today, we'll be focusing our attention on the organizational level. Jumping right into Splash, you'll want to head to this Integrations tab. You can click this button to create your new integration, and from this list of available integrations, find Slack. Okay, now Slack is going to ask you to authorize Splash to access your workspace. Go ahead and follow the instructions in the pop-up window. Hey, check it out. Barely a few minutes and we're already through steps 1 and 2. Nice. Now to configuration. Let's create the integration for guest RSVPs first. To start, we need to set up some of its main behaviors. You can name it whatever you like. I'm going to call mine Slack RSVP. We want to have this integration activate every time a guest RSVPs to one of our events. So open the dropdown for Trigger and pick Attendee. Then open the dropdown for Action and pick RSVP Yes. Below this is a space for trigger conditions, such as only firing on certain types of events, but we won't be using that for our demo today. Now for the most important part, the message that Splash is going to send to your Slack workspace. You can use dynamic tags to insert contextual information into the message, and you can find a list of those tags here. Let's create a message that will tell us when someone has RSVP'd to our event, including the name of the guest and the name of the event. To do this, we can use the contact.firstname tag, the contact.lastname tag, and the event.title tag. Then I can add a bit of static text and I have my message. This way, when a guest RSVPs, these tags will be filled in with the appropriate information for the event and the guest, and the message will appear in your Slack channel. All right, almost done. Just a couple more decisions to make. You can choose a username for Splash to go by in your Slack channel. You can also give it its own user icon by pasting a link to one here. And lastly, you need to tell it which channel it will be sending the messages to. You can pick any public Slack channel, such as General. With all the options set, you can turn the config on up here and then save it. That's really all there is to it. Easy, right? So, we've covered notifying us of an attending guest, but let's do a little more with it. Let's cover another attendee status, such as checked in, and also cover internal activity like the creation of entirely new events. To get these other behaviors, we'll have to create new integrations for them, but we can save a bunch of time by duplicating this existing integration and then just making a few tweaks to each one to get the effect that we want. Go ahead and click on this option menu and choose Duplicate Twice. The changes for each of these are pretty straightforward. Make sure to give each of the integrations a name that makes sense. For check-in, you only need to change the action in the dropdown to checked in. For the event creation, you want to set the trigger to event, and the action to create. The message for each will be a little different, but using the list of available tags, you can create one for each that makes sense. Oh, and make sure you've turned them both on and saved them. Okay, how about we take these for a spin and make sure that they do what we want them to. To accomplish this, we first must create an event, RSVP as a guest, and then check in. If our integrations are set up correctly, there should be a Slack message for each of those 3 activities. Open up the events page in Splash, fill out the form just as you would with any other event, and then pick a theme. Okay, now to RSVP. Find the View as Guest option and select that. This will take you to the public-facing version of your event page. Go ahead and select RSVP, enter in some guest info, and click Submit. Now let's check in one of the guests. Return to the internal event page, and then go over to the Guests tab. Find the guest you RSVP'd as, and click the checkbox next to their name to check them in. Great, that ought to do it. Let's go and verify that this integration worked. Go back to the integrations screen, open up one of the Slack integrations, scroll down to the bottom, and find Activity Log. The Activity Log tracks everything that happens to integrations, and you should see an entry here, just like this one, telling you the integration sent a message to Slack. Let's go see what Slack has to say. And there are messages in the channel. Awesome. We can see our event creation, the guest RSVP, and the check-in. And this is just one of the many ways you can link Splash up to Slack. We can't wait to see what you'll create with it.